what they called it, maybe a Hicks house or something like that.
The old brick house.
The old brick house. And we pulled them out about 1947. And these are the beams that come out of the ceiling floor of the old house. They was 35 foot long when we pulled them out. And I had to cut them off some to get them in here.
How old do you think that house was when you tore it down?
Over 200 years old when we pulled it.
Okay.
These beams, are you ready now?
Yes, sir.
These beams is probably over 200 years old when we pulled them out. They're made out of hand-hewed forest pine. And they was 4x12s, 35 foot long.
Now, how do they, and again, just for my own purpose, they hand hewn them with what, a broadaxe?
Well, I guess they did. I wasn't there.
Yeah, but I mean, is that what they
that's all.
normally used?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks good.
And the floor sills are made out of just round logs, forest pine timber,
Okay.
and it will never rot. The worms can't eat it.
Now, why is that?
Well, the rings are real close together, and they're real rich in pine sap, and bugs just can't eat it. And they're not anymore. They never would reproduce. The forest pine wouldn't, and they never could get them to start again. So when they all got cut, that was it.
So were they, and again, just for the historical part of it, was forest pine, was it a bigger tree?
Yeah, it was a huge tree. It like,
I mean, like a white pine?
no, it was more like a ponderosa pine.
Oh, like they find out west?
Yeah, it was like 4, 5, 6 foot through. Most of the ones that I can remember was, and they'd be like 50, 75 foot to the first limb.
Wow.
And Meadows Mill Company bought all they could get to stock sawmilled with, but they didn't twist or warp or rot.
Okay. We got.
Is that
No, he looks good.
okay?
He looks good. Okay. Just for the editor, I need your name first.
Well, I am Vernon Pete Carlton,
Spell your last name.
Carlton,
And where do you live?
Boomer, Old Mill Road.
Old Mill Road in Boomer.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, let's and again, just feel free to jump in if you like. Just give me a little history on the cabin where we're sitting right here today.
Well, this old house was built in 1841 originally by my great-grandfather, Charles Carlton. And it was rebuilt in 1991, when it was 150 years old. And we use it for family reunions and parties and such like that. Charles Carlton was a captain in the Confederate Army, and then was later a magistrate and justice of peace and a few other things around Boomer. And he used to have court hearings here, and people sue each other for 50 cents. I've got his old papers where they have lawsuits for 50 cents or $1.50 or $1. And the land was originally a grant from the state of North Carolina, about 1,600. 50 cents for 100 acres. That's what it cost.
Wow.
My granddaddy was born here, my daddy was born here, my cousin, same age I am, was born here, and I live next door.
Well, tell me about the architecture. Well, I mean, these are obviously hand-hewed logs that were probably harvested from this ground, right?
The house was built, it was a primitive cabin. In those days, there was no glass and no good doors, no screen doors. And the logs, most of them were hand-hewed forest pine logs. And it was originally 2 cabins, but it was all later put together and made just one big one. And they had the kitchen was outside, down below the house, at a dog trot, they call it. Went from the house to the kitchen, so it's too hot to cook in the summertime in the house, so they used this just to sleep in. And they had a spinning room down there where they made cloth.
Tell me, because a lot of kids won't know what that is, but tell me what a dog trot is.
Dog trot is a little covered porch-like walkway that goes from one house to the other. It's got a roof over it, and it's about 12, 14 foot wide. And you could sit out there in the summertime or walk without getting wet, snowed on or such. And they had a loom in one end of the kitchen where they wove the cloth. And we've got some bedspreads that's woven there.
Okay.
And
What they used for chinking back then?
used for what?
Chinking? You know, the stuff, the mortar that
Oh,
goes between?
they split little pieces of poles and put in there and nailed and then put red mud in.
Red
Carved
mud.
it with red mud in the middle. And when we tore it down, we got it out.
Okay. Let me ask you something else, because when I restored that lion's cabin, I found a bunch of old corn, things. And was that used for insulation? Just
Not that I know of.
you didn't find anything like that when you
No,
restored
these
this?
just had the wood strips and the red mud.
Okay. All right. So, and how many generations lived here?
Well, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my aunt lived here long as she lived up till about 1975. And that was, I don't know how many years right now, but it's a long time.
But this was the original location, or did you move it over a little bit?
No, same location. We didn't move it a bit. We moved everything but the chimney. And the chimney was rebuilt in 1935. That's not the original chimney, but it was the fireplace was 6 feet wide and 4 feet high and real deep. And it'd take a wagon load of wood to fill up the fireplace. And my dad said they would roll the logs in for the back log stick. A big old log, and they put it in there, and that'd last like a week. And they keep fire around it all the time.
Was it common that the fire or the chimney was in the middle of the cabin like that?
It was in between the two buildings to start with, and my uncle in 1935 put them together, put a walkway between one of the rooms.
Okay. Okay. What do you think if kids wondered what life was like back when this cabin was built? What would you say to them?
Very hard country. They had quite a bit of land, some bottom land. They raised everything they ate, just practically, and you didn't go to the store and buy anything. And after the Civil War, the carpetbaggers came down. There's an old guy over here, little piece. I won't call his name now, but anyway, his family and my family never had got along because he told the carpetbaggers what they had. They had 4 horses and had a lot of meat, to eat on. They came here and they hid the horses, and they didn't want to give them up. They told them if they built a big fire at the corner of their house and said, if you don't bring them horses, we're going to burn the house down. They're getting ready to shove the fire under the house. But they had to give up the horses and give up everything they had to eat, and that made it a little harder.
Well, let's back up just a second, because for a high school term paper, again, tell me what a carpetbagger is.
Carpetbagger is a group of people that came down from up north after the Civil War, stealing everything to get their hands on. And they weren't legal by nobody's means. They're just a big bunch of people went all over the South trying to get even.
Okay, all right. So what did people do back then for a living? I mean, they just farm and.
Well, yeah, farmed, and that's about it. Maybe do a little work around, carpenter work. If could, my grandfather was a carpenter. He did some carpentry, built some barns and some houses. And my dad was a rural letter carrier. He started carrying the mail in 1918 on horseback. Carried it to Kings Creek and back. Then another few years he got a buggy, and then a little later he got a Model T. He carried the mail 43 years.
So was the post office out of Boomer?
Originally the post office was called Warrior Creek.
Okay.
And after, there's a fellow in the name of, let me think of his name, named Matheson, run a store out there, and he had the post office. Well, he had a pet squirrel, a pet boomer squirrel. So he had it on his shoulder, and that little old pet squirrel scratched it and bit him all over the face. So they nicknamed him Boomer. And so they changed the post office from Warrior Creek to Boomer. And I've got correspondence that my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather had that was addressed to Warrior Creek. And they would write the letter on a sheet of paper, and then they'd fold it up and make an envelope out of it and glue it and then address it. And then sit the letter in the envelope. I've got a bunch of them.
And you call it a boomer squirrel?
Boomer. It's a little red squirrel.
That's a kind of squirrel.
It's kind of a squirrel. It's smaller than a gray squirrel. and they would get in your houses and carry nuts in and store them in your house if you could, wherever they could get. But I haven't seen one in years and years.
Okay. All right. What do you think? What was it like during the Depression around here?
Well, I was born in 26. I don't remember too good, but it was rough.
It was rough.
I know my dad had the only job in this country, carrying the mail, which didn't make nothing. And this old house was, when they rebuilt it in 35, three colored fellas come from Wilkesboro and tore the old chimney down and built a new one back for 50 cents a day in their dinner. And they went down on the branch and they built a dam across the branch, and they put a little ram in it to pump water up here, run off of water pressure. That was in 35, and they had a tank upstairs, and the water run all the time. You couldn't turn it off. Run the tank full and run out another pipe down the hill.
Really? You said like a hydraulic?
Yeah, it's
ram
kind of a
pump?
hydraulic ram, they call it.
Well, that's a technology that you can almost push water up a hill, right?
Yeah, it pushed it from way down in the branch up here for years. You got to have so much waterfall, so they had to build a dam to get the water up high enough to get the fall down to the ram. And one water pipe run to the spring, and it pumped the spring water up here. Didn't use the same water you was pumping it with.
Okay. Now tell me again. Now, as a kid, you didn't grow up in this cabin, did you?
No, but I darn near did. I see her
Right
all the time.
Where were you at? Where do you grow up?
Right just outside of where I live now.
Okay. Well, what was that like as a kid, growing up in this area?
Well, we had fun. We had to work. I don't ever remember not milking a cow, but we had to milk a couple of cows every day, carry in a bunch of wood from my mother, draw 20 gallons of water out of a 70-foot well, then go to school. And in the wintertime, I had 12 or 15 rabbit traps. I went and checked them every morning before I went to school. And I started school at Boomer in the first grade, and I didn't like my teacher. And my dad took me out there on the way to work. When he'd get on out the post office, I'd be back home. And I went that way for about a month. And my mother walked me back out there. She got tired of that. My aunt was teaching school at High Rock. Had a one-room schoolhouse, one teacher, and 17 kids most of the time. And it's over 2 miles from here up there. And we walked it, and my mother got her to take me with her. And I went every day, and I thought it was the best school I ever saw. We walked, snow or rain or whatever. Then no school buses, no central heat, that little wood heater, not even any bathrooms. The boys went on the right side of the hill, the boys and the girls on the other side. That's the truth.
And what didn't you like about the teacher at the first school?
I didn't like the teacher.
You didn't just like
No, I didn't like the teacher, for one thing, and I was wanting to come home. I didn't want to go to school no way. And I wanted to come home, and she made fun of me one day, and that was it. I came home. And we had a colored man that worked for my dad for 40, 50 years, and best fellow I ever saw in my life, I think. And I stayed with him when I was 3 years old. I'd go out and stay all day with him. My mother packed my lunch. Well, I wanted to stay with him after I got to first grade too, but I couldn't. So that was part of it.
Well, take me into your teenage years. What happened during teenager and high school years?
Normal. Just.
How'd you meet your wife?
Huh?
How'd you meet your wife?
Her dad was raised up Boomer here a little piece, and he used to play ball with my dad back in 1910 or 12, and they lived in Arizona. He went to Arizona in 1912 and homesteaded 640 acres, and they come back on a visit, and I met her. I had a ball game at Boomer, and I was playing ball, and I hit a home run while she was there. They come out, eat supper with us that night, her and her daddy. And then we started writing to each other, had 2 double dates, started writing to each other then. And I flew out there at Christmas and got married, brought her back. We've been married 62 years. My dad said it won't last 3 months.
What was her maiden name?
Her name was Carlton too. We're distant cousins.
I got you.
he